The worst part about discovering your wife is screwing your boss isn't the betrayal. It's realizing you're the last person at the Christmas party to figure it out. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Lucas Mitchell, 42 years old, senior account manager at Hartwell Associates, and apparently the biggest idiot in downtown Chicago. The revelation hit me like a freight train during what should have been a routine holiday gathering on the agency's rooftop terrace. My wife Amber stood near the champagne fountain, laughing at something Reed Blackwood was whispering in her ear. Reed, our creative director, had always been an arrogant piece of work, designer suits, perfect teeth, and the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. But watching him lean into my wife with that smug grin made my stomach turn. "You seeing this?" My friend Vic appeared beside me, nursing a whiskey. Viktor Petrov had been my closest ally at the agency for 8 years, a brilliant strategist with a dry sense of humor and zero tolerance for office politics. Seeing what? I played dumb, but my eyes stayed locked on Amber and Reed. "Come on, Lucas. Everyone's talking about it. The late meetings, the private photo shoots, the way she looks at him." Vic's voice carried genuine concern. "How long has this been going on?" I wanted to defend my wife, to tell Vic he was imagining things, but the evidence had been mounting for weeks. Amber's sudden interest in artistic collaboration with Reed, her new wardrobe of expensive clothes I hadn't bought, the way she'd started working late every Tuesday and Thursday, exactly when Reed claimed to be reviewing creative portfolios. "She could do better than you anyway." Reed's voice cut through the party chatter like a blade. He wasn't even trying to be discreet anymore. A small circle had formed around him and Amber, including Jesse Martinez, Reed's sycophantic assistant, and several junior creatives who hung on his every word. "I mean, look at her," Reed continued, gesturing toward Amber with his champagne glass. "Talented photographer, gorgeous, sophisticated, and then there's Lucas. Middle management, drives a Honda, shops at Target. It's almost tragic." The group erupted in uncomfortable laughter. Amber didn't defend me. She just smiled and sipped her drink, basking in Reed's attention. Something cold and calculating settled in my chest. I walked over to their little circle, my footsteps deliberate and measured. "Reed," I said, my voice carrying across the terrace, "I couldn't help but overhear your commentary on my marriage." The laughter died. Reed turned to face me, that infuriating smirk still plastered across his face. "Just making conversation, Lucas. No offense intended." "None taken," I replied smoothly. Though I have to say it's fascinating hearing relationship advice from someone whose own wife filed a restraining order last month. The color drained from Reed's face. His wife Heather had indeed taken legal action after discovering his pattern of emotional abuse, but he'd managed to keep it quiet within the agency. "That's not," Reed started. "Oh, but it is," I continued, my voice growing stronger. "See, that's the difference between us, Reed. When my wife needs support, I'm there for her. When yours needed protection, she had to call the cops." The circle of onlookers shifted uncomfortably. Jesse's mouth hung open. Even the background music seemed to fade as more people turned to watch the confrontation. Reed's face flushed red. "You little—" "Careful," I warned, stepping closer. "We're in public. Wouldn't want another incident report filed with HR." Amber grabbed my arm roughly. "Lucas, stop. You're embarrassing yourself." I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. The woman I'd married 7 years ago, who used to laugh at my jokes and defend me to her family. Now she was protecting the man who'd just humiliated me in front of our colleagues. "Am I?" I asked quietly. "Or am I finally seeing things clearly?" "Apologize to Reed," Amber hissed. "Right now, or we're done. It's over." The ultimatum hung in the air between us. Everyone waited for my response. The old Lucas would have backed down, apologized, tried to smooth things over, but something had fundamentally shifted in that moment. I smiled, a cold, calculating expression that made Reed take a step backward. You know what, Amber? You're absolutely right. It is over. I turned and walked away, leaving them all staring after me. As I reached the elevator, my phone buzzed with a text from Amber. You'd better fix this, or else. I deleted the message without responding. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my office reviewing campaign proposals when the pieces finally clicked into place. Amber had been working late again, her third emergency shoot this week. But according to the building's security log, which I'd sweet-talked the guard into showing me, she'd left at 5:30 p.m. My neighbor, Mrs. Klein, a 70-year-old busybody with perfect timing, had mentioned seeing Reed's silver BMW parked outside our apartment building twice this week. The same days Amber claimed to be working late. I'd started documenting everything. Photos of lipstick stains on Amber's collar that weren't her shade. Screenshots of deleted text messages I'd recovered from her phone backup. Credit card receipts for expensive lingerie purchases, items I'd never seen her wear. The evidence was overwhelming, but I needed something concrete, something undeniable. That's when Tommy Chen, our 24-year-old IT specialist, knocked on my office door. Mr. Mitchell, you asked me to check the server logs for those missing files? Right. What did you find? Tommy glanced around nervously before closing the door. Well, the files aren't missing exactly. They're being accessed remotely by Mr. Blackwood's personal laptop. But here's the weird part. He's also accessing your wife's cloud storage account. A chill ran down my spine. What kind of files? Photos mostly. But some are personal. I probably shouldn't have looked, but show me. Tommy reluctantly pulled up the server logs on his tablet. There it was, a digital trail of Reed accessing Amber's private photo galleries. Intimate pictures meant for her portfolio, but also personal shots. Pictures of our apartment, our bedroom, even photos of me sleeping. Can you trace when these accesses started? I asked. About 4 months ago. Always late at night, usually when you were out of town for client meetings. 4 months. They'd been planning this for 4 months. I thanked Tommy and asked him to keep this information confidential. Then I called Vic. I need a favor, I said when he answered, and it involves getting creative. The good kind of creative or the kind that gets us fired? The kind that gets us justice. That evening, I confronted Amber directly. She was in our bedroom, supposedly editing photos on her laptop, but I could see she was actually video chatting with Reed. We need to talk, I announced, walking into the room. Amber quickly closed the laptop. I'm working, Lucas. Can it wait? No, it can't. I sat down on the bed beside her, my voice calm and measured. I know about Reed. Her face went pale, but she tried to maintain her composure. I don't know what you're talking about. 4 months, Amber. 4 months of late-night meetings, secret phone calls, and lies. I have the server logs showing Reed accessing your private files. I have photos of his car outside our building. I have credit card receipts for hotel rooms you've never mentioned. Amber's facade crumbled. Lucas, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you chose to betray 7 years of marriage for a man who treats his own wife so badly she needed legal protection? You don't understand, Amber said, tears forming in her eyes. Reed gets me. He appreciates my work, my talent. He sees potential in me that you never did. I supported your photography career from day one. I paid for your equipment, your studio space, your exhibition fees. What I didn't do was sleep with you while married to someone else. It just happened, Lucas. We didn't plan it. I pulled out my phone and showed her the server logs. 4 months of planning says otherwise. Amber stared at the evidence, realizing she'd been caught. What do you want? I want you out, tonight, and I want you to stay away from Reed, because what I'm about to do to him is going to destroy his career. You can't. Watch me. The next morning I put my plan into motion. First, I anonymously sent copies of all evidence to Reed's wife, Heather, along with a detailed timeline of the affair. Then I forwarded the same information to the agency's HR department and senior partners. But that was just the beginning. Reed had made his reputation on stealing other people's ideas and taking credit for successful campaigns. I'd been documenting his plagiarism for years, waiting for the right moment to expose him. That moment had arrived. I compiled a comprehensive dossier showing how Reed had stolen concepts from junior creatives, claimed credit for campaigns developed by other team members, and falsified client feedback to make his work appear more successful than it actually was. The evidence was damning, but I needed one final piece to complete my revenge. That's when Jesse Martinez approached me in the break room. "Mr. Mitchell, can I talk to you privately?" We stepped into an empty conference room, and Jesse's composure immediately cracked. "I know what you're doing to Mr. Blackwood," he said, "and I want to help." "Why would you want to help me? You're his assistant." Jesse laughed bitterly. "Assistant? Is that what you think I am?" The implication hit me like a sledgehammer. Jesus, he's been, for 8 months, promising me promotions, better assignments, career advancement, all lies. And when I found out about your wife, I realized I wasn't even his only side piece. Jesse pulled out his phone and showed me a series of text messages between him and Reed. Explicit photos, promises of career advancement in exchange for sexual favors, and most damning of all, Reed's own words admitting to manipulating both Jesse and Amber. "He's been playing all of us," Jesse continued. "Your wife thinks she's special, but she's just another conquest, and I was stupid enough to believe I meant something to him." I stared at the messages, my anger reaching a boiling point. Reed hadn't just destroyed my marriage, he'd been systematically abusing his position to manipulate vulnerable employees. "What do you want to do about it?" I asked. Jesse's eyes hardened. "I want to watch him burn." The next day was Reed's biggest presentation of the year, a pitch to Meridian Industries worth $12 million in billings. The entire senior staff would be present, along with the Meridian executives and several potential new clients. I arrived early and worked with Tommy to upload Jesse's evidence to the presentation server. When Reed began his pitch, clicking through his carefully prepared slides, he would get a very different show than expected. The conference room filled with agency partners, Meridian executives, and key staff members. Reed entered wearing his most expensive suit, radiating confidence and arrogance. "Gentlemen, ladies," Reed began, "today I'm going to show you a campaign that will revolutionize how Meridian connects with consumers." He clicked to his first slide. Instead of his polished presentation, the screen displayed a text message thread between Reed and Jesse, complete with explicit photos and promises of career advancement. The room erupted in shocked gasps and uncomfortable murmurs. Reed frantically clicked his remote, but each slide revealed more damning evidence: his affair with Amber, his pattern of plagiarism, his abuse of power with multiple employees. "What the hell is this?" Reed shouted, his face turning crimson. "This," announced Patricia Hartwell, the agency's founding partner, "is your termination, effective immediately." Security escorted Reed from the building while the Meridian executives sat in stunned silence. The $12 million contract was lost, but the agency's reputation was salvaged by their swift action against Reed's misconduct. But I wasn't finished. That evening, I waited outside Reed's downtown apartment building. When he emerged, clearly having been drinking, I was ready for him. "You bastard!" Reed screamed when he saw me. "You destroyed my career." "No," I replied calmly. "You destroyed your career. I just documented it." Reed charged at me, but I'd anticipated this. I stepped aside and let him stumble past me, then pulled out my phone and started recording. "Go ahead, Reed. Show everyone what kind of man you really are. Hit me. Give me assault charges to add to your sexual harassment complaints." Reed raised his fist, then realized he was being filmed. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by his shouting. Several people were recording with their phones. You think you've won? Reed snarled. Amber will come back to me. She knows what real success looks like. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, she won't. I showed him a text message Amber had sent an hour earlier. Reed, it's over. Lucas was right about you. Don't contact me again. Reed's face went white. That's impossible. She loves me. She loved the idea of you, the successful creative director, the powerful man who could advance her career. But you're not that man anymore, are you? You're unemployed, facing multiple harassment complaints, and about to be divorced. What exactly do you have to offer her now? Reed stared at me with pure hatred, but he was defeated, and he knew it. The crowd continued filming as he stumbled away into the night. 3 months later, I was promoted to creative director. Reed's position had been eliminated, but the agency created a new role specifically for me, one that combined account management with creative oversight. Amber had moved back in with her parents in Milwaukee. The divorce was finalized without contest, since the evidence of her affair made any alimony claims impossible. Jesse had been promoted to senior account coordinator and was excelling in his new role. He'd also started therapy to deal with the trauma of Reed's manipulation. Reed himself had disappeared from Chicago entirely. Last I heard, he was working at a small marketing firm in Phoenix, making a fraction of his former salary. I was reviewing quarterly reports in my new corner office when Vic knocked on my door. How does it feel? He asked, settling into the chair across from my desk. How does what feel? Being the guy who won. You destroyed Reed's career, exposed his corruption, saved Jesse from further abuse, and got promoted to his job. That's pretty comprehensive revenge. I leaned back in my chair, considering his question. It feels like justice. Reed thought he could manipulate people without consequences. He was wrong. And Amber? Amber made her choice. She chose someone she thought was powerful and successful over someone who actually loved her. When that person turned out to be a fraud, she had nothing left. Vic nodded approvingly. You know what the best part is? You didn't break any laws. Everything you did was completely legal and ethical. You just exposed the truth. The truth has a way of coming out eventually, I replied. I just helped it along. As Vic left my office, I turned to look out the window at the Chicago skyline. 6 months ago, I'd been a middle manager with a cheating wife and an abusive boss. Now, I was running the creative department of a respected agency, with a clear conscience and a bright future. Reed had been right about one thing. Amber could have done better than the old Lucas. But she'd chosen poorly, and the new Lucas had made sure she paid the price for that choice. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's getting even, legally and completely,